Finishing matric had been such a roller coaster. These years had required progress and patience in with the actions I took towards bettering myself. The reality of failures and what I had been faced with had been a blessing in disguise. Academically, throughout high school, I was always capable, so I figured that university would be a smooth ride. Boy, was I in for a major surprise. University was different to high school as suggested by my high school educators. Going to university would expand my possibilities towards a defined career path. I was honestly undecided on which course or career path to follow at the time. Honestly, time was running out, and the process became even more frustrating. This is one phase which required that I have immense support and guidance. Growing up in my adult life without a father had an immense dent on my guidance. How better would things have been if I had my father by my side? Unfortunately, he wasn't there. I had to work with my own intuition. This definitely pushed me towards learning to be an open-minded person who was always open to new experiences. Being open-minded allowed myself to be indulged in very enriching experiences. This was a phase where I learned plenty of valuable lessons to which I hold dear up until this day. The main idea of family as well as caring for others was one of the valuable life lessons learned throughout my high school life. That I learned through friends, family, and mostly my educators. They instilled in me the value of seeking what you want elsewhere, if not found where you reside. This definitely pushed me towards leaving home, which wasn't a decision that wasn't easy. But as time went, a decision definitely worth it. Here was I, sitting in a home which I did not get the required support. My previous failures had always been exported. In fact, I played a huge part in blaming everyone else for who I was, then taking responsibility. I ran away from anything that required me to take the responsibility. This was a downfall to my success. A majority of my high school life was spent trying to convince my mother of the importance of my education. She was also going through a mental breakdown, but instead of me trying to understand, this had a detrimental effect on our relationship. Instead of growing us closer, we drew further and further from one another. After this realization, I came to see how I was damaging a lot of valuable relationships. So I decided to take responsibility from every action from there onwards. First step was to learn from my failures, and that was to understand that I was responsible for every decision I made. Taking responsibility opened up my world to new relationship as well as new experiences. An immense, impactful view I got having to live with my fellow Congolese and Zambian brothers. They opened up their home and most importantly their heart to me when I was at a low. This new discovered character that I learned about myself had required me to be around people who wanted the best for me. Leaving home definitely, and being in the company of the people who showed me how important it is to believe in myself had been one of the biggest decisions I made. The value of family and caring for one another is something we as African people are inherently born with. Ubuntu, which is humanity. Historical encounters have proven the value of this characteristic and how it has been a binding force to the Black unification. It is responsibility of each generation to educate the current of the impact of the history that we share as Africans and the strength that comes from the unification of our people. This, in fact, requires us to find common ground that first begins with us taking responsibility for our own selves. How we govern our lives is more important because that is exemplary. The example we set is means that we promote a way of living that includes compassion, understanding, as well as cooperation. We are all going to be active in creating and working towards this impactful way of life that begins with each person being mindful of the vital role they each play in the success of the system. Our communities need to be built around responsibility and fellowship. The separateness that I see brewing in our townships, in our neighborhoods, is the same movement that will see the prosperous nature of division being promoted if we do not demand responsibility from one another. The future we want for ourselves is a future which we should be prepared to fight and be active in creating. We must stop looking for others as saviors and start being aware that we are our own saviors. That had been one of the most important lessons I first had to come in grips with. Acceptance. Acceptance and seeing things as they were focal key parts in the next step, which would determine the definite direction I would take after the inception of my high school career. There was no time for doubt. Many thanks for tuning in for this episode to learn and reflect with me. Your feedback and reviews will be highly appreciated on all the podcast platforms you're listening on. Until next time, namaste.